Sensei, the place to be chilling, Mr. A&D. Better give you guys a midweek wrestling review for NXT and AEW. A lot of things happening. We coming off of AEW Roadblock. Right, this is the last time before Stand Delivered, which is going to be on WrestleMania weekend. And then we got the fallout from that awesome show of AEW Revolution, which I did a review on. Hopefully by the time y'all seeing this, that review is up already. So we got to get up into this, no hesitation here, so we can quickly get through this stuff. So we're going to start off with NXT. NXT was Roadblock. So, excuse me. Even though I like calling it Roadblock, end of the line. We got the results here. So we got a nice Women's Championship main event. And then, of course, we start off strong as well. So what happens is, we start off with Tony D'Angelo taking on Dijak in a jailhouse street fight. So this is a street fight with kind of crazy rules in it because they've got this cage. It's supposed to be the jail cell, which is more like a shark cage than what it looks like. And the thing is, you're supposed to beat your opponent so bad in this street fight that you gotta throw them in jail. This is the concept. I'm dead serious. And I was sitting there asking myself, like, really? The match is a pretty brutal matchup. I kind of go a little bit into the middle here where Dijak does a springboard elbow to Tony D'Angelo through the table. He's about to put him in the cage, but then D'Angelo grabs his finger, which Dijak does have tape up from that finger injury because that still gets me shaking. Stacks was out there, and at first Dijak hits his hit the feast your eyes on D'Angelo, and then it puts him in the cage. But then as he's trying to close it, Stacks dives in there and stops it with his body, and then he goes to do feast your eyes to Stacks, and then Tony D'Angelo has a crowbar, and then he starts attacking Dijak all the way up into the cage floor, and then hit him right in the face with the crowbar, and then closes the jail cell. So Tony D'Angelo wins the matchup there. I thought it was a decent matchup. A good opener for the show. Like usually when he street fights in there with Tony D'Angelo, he does pretty good. The whole put him in the jail thing type thing was kind of cheesy, but I was just like, you know what, it's something new, so the match didn't disappoint. NXT champions Gallus are in the ring. They call out Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly's on the balcony up the top talking about them and just get on their nerves with all their phrases, but then they finally come down and challenge them, which causes a brawl, which Gallus has a series of layers on Pretty Deadly, and they run away. They had a couple more promos and stuff like that I did not necessarily see, stuff like that. Then we got Braun Breaker and the Creed Brothers taking on Indoshire in a 6-person tag team matchup. The matchup was pretty good. The finish came when they did a Tower of Doom spot, but Brodus hit the cannonball on Veer and won the matchup. So good 6-man tag match. I thought it was cool. Anything the Creed Brothers in, I'm a big fan of the Creed Brothers, so I'm cool with that. Grayson Waller hosts the Grayson Waller effect, and he wants Shawn Michaels to be on there, and he talks all the stuff about Shawn Michaels and Michaels. Grayson Waller said that Shawn Michaels is playing favorites and that he has something out, you holding him back. But Shawn Michaels like, look, man, I let you go out on your own, and you're the reason why, hey, you got to blame yourself. And then he says, well, look, you wouldn't even had this job if Triple H had his little incident last year, which, he had them heart problems. And Shawn said, you know what, he was in charge, but now the one's steady ship. So this all leads to Grayson Waller wanting to challenge Shawn Michaels at a match at Stand Delivered. And Shawn Michaels, I was just like, look, Shawn, you retired in 2010, and I'm sticking with that, okay? And he was just like, look, I wouldn't mind, whooping your ass and Stand Delivered, but he is older, but he found a replacement, and that replacement is this man. And who comes out? It's Johnny Wrestling back in NXT. Johnny Gargano, the crowd pops hard for him, and now we're going to get a good match between Johnny Gargano and Grayson Waller, and it's fine because he's doing literally nothing on Raw. That man's up there treading water until Tommaso Ciampa comes back. He has to be up there treading water until Tommaso Ciampa comes back. So then, so it'll be Gargano taking on Waller at Stand Delivered. JC Jane taking on Gigi Dolan. Obviously, this rivalry has brewed over, and the match was pretty average, but Gigi Dolan does win with the roll up. out of nowhere, and it surprises JC Jane after the matchup. JC Jane goes and attacks Gigi Dolan, and the referee had to break them both up after she was getting upper hand on Gigi Dolan. NXT champion Braun Breaker comes to the ring, and he talks about, look, now that it's about to be WrestleMania season, he calls out Carmelo Hayes, and they said, their paths is finally crossed, and they had like a real moment here. Talking about, remember when Shawn Hunter set us down, and he said, yeah, I remember. They talk about some, NXT for y'all for a taking, then and Carmelo said, I would watch your matches, Braun, and then same thing goes back to him, and he said, usually he'll say when his catchphrase is here, but he says, no, look, I'll see you for that championship and take a NXT Stand and Deliver. It's like a mutual respect between them two, because those two have been the two hottest things on NXT since it even rebranded to 2.0. So their paths are finally going to cross now, because when Braun Breaker was sitting there holding it down with the NXT Championship, Carmelo Hayes is holding it down with the North American Championship. So now he lost it. Now he's about to go into something bigger and better. And I think Braun Breaker will be the first one to get called up to the main roster. I mean, they both honestly could go up at the same time. But I would like Melo to have a run with the NXT Championship first. You know what I'm saying? Joe Gacy, I'm kind of like flowing through this. Like, when it comes to like the backstage stuff and little backstage segments, I didn't get really too much into those. Not breaking those down too much. This is more of a recap on both of these shows to get the review out for you guys. But Joe Gacy takes on Andre Chase. This matchup was fine. I am really getting into, look, Andre Chase got on my nerves, especially back during the Dexter Lumis wedding. He got on my nerves. I'm like, who the hell is this Andre Chase guy? But I'm starting to like him a little bit. Like I said, opposed to Joe Gacy, which I liked at first and now I don't care for anymore. But like I'm actually starting to get into the Chase U kicks, and I'm just like, okay, please put that in the game so I can, you do the CHASEU. What's that spell? Chase U. Like I be getting all up into that. But what happens is, on the outside, Thea Hall sees in the corner of her eye Ava Raine. And she kind of gets a couple deep breaths, and she runs up and starts yelling in her face, like, I'm not scared of you, I am not scared of you. And then she finally tells Andre, like, I did it, but then it distracts him enough for Joe Gacy to go hit his lariat, or whatever he calls his finishing move, to win the matchup. So it caused enough of a distraction for that, which pisses off Josh Briggs. Is in the bag. Josh Briggs talks about some weird university full of losers. Main event time, NXT Women's Championship, Roxanne Perez taking on Miko Satomura. These women went in. Okay, these women went in. Roxanne Perez, like, she just keeps impressing me more and more. I see her, and Miko, she old school, man. And I like her, and it still sucks that she's not in the game right now, but I really enjoy her work and everything like that. So when it comes toward the end, Mako goes and hits 2 kicks on Perez and wins for another Scorpio Rise, and Perez elevated and got her into a schoolboy pin and won the matchup that way. And so after the matchups, Mako is going to give Roxanne her props, but then all of a sudden she just collapsed. Like, she just falls down and she collapsed, and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. They treat it like a real thing. It's almost like they treat it. I'm not saying this to be funny. They treat it like a Dunbar Hamlin thing that happened earlier this year when it came to like collapsing on the field. Now, obviously, this was a work, okay, because like part storyline, and everybody came out. It's just the Shawn Michaels Owen Hart thing when he collapsed. Also, because you could tell when somebody really collapsed and with storyline. First of all, like, she caught her fall the way she fell forward. Okay, it's just like, nobody falls with their hands up like this. Like, if you're gonna fall out, you're just gonna fall dead right there and there. You may just like smack your head on something you don't even know. And Booker T came in there, and Shawn Michaels came out there, to build realism. Trust me, y'all, if this is really real, you heard it in the news already. It's not. It's part of a storyline. But I was just like, she collapsed at the end. So, and that's how the broadcast ended, to leave you in suspense. So that was NXT Roadblock. I thought it was a decent enough show. We got some things. I'm really waiting for Stand Delivered. Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker is definitely what I'm waiting for. But now it is time to get on to AEW Dynamite. It's Wednesday, and you do know what that means. So we kick off Dynamite with the AEW All-In Championship. Jay Lethal taking on Orange Cassidy here. These two, every time they show up a show, they make good numbers apparently, and this one did not disappoint also, because there's some reason they got some good chemistry. They be having good matches. So midway through the matchup here, Jay Lethal goes for a lethal injection with Orange Cassidy, as he's doing the handspring, kicks him right in the shoulder, because he was selling the shoulder injury throughout the entirety of the matchup. So that played a part in there, where he also was trying to go for another DDT again, but it didn't work out for him. Lee managed to get back on. Jay Lethal, managed to get back on the offense for an elbow drop, but only to take knees to the face by the champ. Orange Cassidy goes for an orange punch that gets knocked down with a cutter. I thought that was kind of cool. But it still did fall. Jay Lethal collapses with the lethal injection attempt because of his shoulder. He's on his shoulder, and then Orange Cassidy hits him with the orange punch and wins the matchup. So I thought it was opening contest, good matchup. Orange Cassidy has been killing it these opening weeks on AEW. I want it to continue doing that, especially with this All-In Championship, which I got news on when we get a little deeper into the show. Absolute Ricky Starks comes out after that big win over Chris Jericho that he had at Revolution. And then, what's next for Ricky Starks? And he's like, I'm not necessarily sure. But then the Bullet Club music hits, and it's Juice Robinson. He comes out of nowhere, attacks Ricky Starks, and then just stands over him. So, now here's the thing. The New Japan stuff, like the deep New Japan stuff, Prime has to talk to you about that, because I don't watch New Japan. Not because I don't like New Japan. I just don't have the access to watch New Japan. And Prime does. I didn't know Juice Robinson had any affiliation with the Bullet Club. I did not know that. So, but I know he's over in AEW now. So, him versus Juice Robinson versus Ricky Starks will be a good fit for that. A good program going into some of these little, AEW spring break-in type shows, stuff like that. So I can see that. I can see that happening. Ruby Soho is out in the ring with Renee Bouquet, and they give her the microphone and talk about what happened with the betrayal that happened yesterday. The one for Revolution where she turned on Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, and she said, no, hold on. The fans is what created this monster, and let's go back down memory lane for a little bit, shall we? So, he said the fans were, when she had her first title match against Britt Baker, when Baker won, the fans were thrilled about that. Everybody like Ruby Soho. She just came over from, the evil WWE or the evil other place, and then all of a sudden when she has a title match, y'all turned on her. And then she talks about that she follows up about a match with Chris Statlander, and she gets booed out the building. Cause I remember that, because everybody was into the Chris Statlander. So, then we go over to, they said, then it's Jamie Hayter, and then, so at Revolution, when Jamie Hayter pinned her, we realized that no one was coming to her defense, so AEW was really needs to start appreciating her. And if we go over to Toni Storm, she said, follow her, Toni Storm not even be called a real champion at first, because when Thunder Rosa went down, she was called the interim champion. She wasn't even a champion. And then when Saraya came come back from retirement and made that epic return, y'all show nothing but hate and nothing. You cannot build a broken foundation, and this is a broken women's division, and they are coming out here to change that. But then here comes Sky Blue to come out there and make her way to take on Ruby Soho. So they actually had a competitive match. I thought Ruby Soho was really going to just beat her and squash her, but she ended up hitting the, what does she call her kick now? I forgot. Oh, Destination Unknown. She hits the Destination Unknown. Sky Blue wins the matchup. So after the matchup, Saraya and Storm come to the ring with their little green spray paint case. Green World Order. So, and they about to, spray a little L on there. But then, Willow Nightingale, sexy as Willow Nightingale, comes down there and she's like, no, Ruby, this ain't you. We sat there and bled on Rampage for buckets amount of blood for no apparent reason, for nobody that watched. You don't need to do this. But then Saraya took some attack with Willow Nightingale, and then she gives Willow Nightingale the Destination Unknown kick, and now she's out. Then they put Sky Blue on top of her, and then they both spray them down with the green spray can paint and stuff like that. So here's the thing: what she said makes absolutely the sense. You got to actually go back and you should have thinking like, damn, that was kind of true. Where it's like, it makes sense for Toni Storm, it makes sense for Ruby Soho, it makes sense for Saraya. But my issue is, like, this thing got no heat. Like, it at least it didn't feel like it on TV. It felt as though like the fans were booing, but not as loud as they can be. And I kind of want this kind of act to get over. And then on top of that, I was just like, why even have the triple threat with Saraya in the matchup to begin with in the first place? I guess they really wanted to swerve everybody. I was like, but you knew where this was going. You knew where this was going. So that's the only thing. But I enjoy Ruby Soho. I like her as a heel. And I like them as a heel group, as them being the outsiders. You know what I'm saying, with the Green World Order. Okay. And them doing that and taking on all the AEW originals. And so Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, and then probably Chris Statlander when she come back, and all of those are all the AEW originals, the homegrown talent. So I really want to see where this stuff goes. We get a pre-tape message from MJF after his win at Revolution, which was an awesome Iron Man matchup. Like that goes up there as one of the best, if not the best, Iron Man matchup in wrestling history, to be honest with you, depending on who you're talking to. But I think that's definitely in the high contender match of the year for this year so far. And it's basically to talk about how everybody, they think MJF is just all he's to do is talk, and that man can go in the ring. FTR comes out there and speaks and talks about their struggles with, with stuff that's been going on and stuff at home, but now they're back to kind of win those AEW Tag Team Championships. They take them off the Gun Club, to be honest with you, because I'm glad they're back in AEW. I'm not into the Gun Club, and honestly, you can see why they did the Fatal 4-Way at Revolution, so the Acclaim will have to take the pin, and the Acclaim will have to lose to FTR when they go against the Gun Club. They're transitional champions, and I think I'm cool with it. So we get backstage, Renee Paquette is interviewing Jade Cargill, saying she's 53-0, and Jade Car's our any Canadian competitor. That's where they're going to be at next, and see if they want to step in the ring with her. Jade has cooled off to me a little bit. First, I'm a so big fan of Jade and everything like that. Me personally, I was like, they killed the baddies. Like, Jade, Velvet, and Hogan was working for me. Like, I'm not saying it was the hottest thing in the company, but people, like, they would take a picture of everybody. Like, everybody was like, I'm trying to be a part of the bag. Layla Gray comes in. Nobody knows who this girl is, okay? Really. It's just like she's just there. It's like, hey, another colored girl, bring her here. And they got rid of Red Velvet. We was like, we never really addressed it other than, like, briefly of why they left. And she turned on Karen Hogan because she thought as though Karen Hogan was doing her job. And it's like, well, me and Prime was arguing, like, Karen Hogan would be better off doing her own thing. You're true, but what she's doing, she ain't doing nothing right now. Talented women, her and Red Velvet, are not doing anything. They use them to help boost up Jade. I enjoy the whole bad thing. Her just with Layla Gray right now, it's just like, I don't like it. I just don't like Layla Gray. I'm like, get rid of her. I want my original baddies back. JAS take on Top Flight and AR Fox in a trios matchup, in a pretty good trios matchup. Towards the end, Fox hit a senton off the apron to the outside, and back in the ring, Darius counts the walls of Jericho for a near fall, but Hager takes the bat, hits Darius, and then Judas Effect, and then that's the matchup. But now after the matchup, JS wants their shot at the Trios Tag Team Championships. Well, what does that bring out? That brings out the Elite. When the Elite comes out, Callis says Jericho's one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, but only the second best from Winnipeg. And if Don has had time to train, Chris will be number 3. Chris calls out Don, but then the lights go out again, and then we see it's the House of Black. House of Black come out, and Malachi addressed the situation. They started the challenge, and they were doing the effect like they would disappear when the lights go out and reappear somewhere else, something like that. But it was just like, okay, it was a decent, hard to take those trios match when you have these kind of guys involved in there. But I don't know if they're going to do like a 3-way trio type thing. But I think House of Black and Elite need another matchup first before the JS get involved in there, because I don't necessarily see. I don't care. So Tony Khan makes his announcement about his big announcement, right? And Tony Khan, God, look, I love Tony Khan, but Tony Khan is so awkward. He's such a wrestling nerd, such a mark. He's like, he be on camera, he be like, yeah, the type of thing. I'm just like, Tony Khan, really? He announced that there's going to be a change, like Jeff Jarrett's going to take on Orange Cassidy for the All In Championship. That'll be his last defense before they change it to the international AEW International Championship. So they changed the name to it, this is basically going to be AEW's Intercontinental Championship. And I'm just like, okay. I was like, this whole big announcement thing, I was like, I don't know if that was necessarily that big of an announcement. But sure, tag team matchup: the Blackpool Combat Club taking on the Dark Order. Hey, wait, I got something to tell y'all. The Dark Order sucks. Okay. This was Alex Reynolds and John Silver's version of it, and the Blackpool Combat Club win the matchup, and then they go and beat down some more of the Dark Order, and look like they're getting into like the heel territory, which is needed, to be honest with you. It's time for the main event. It's time for the Falls Count Anywhere match for the TNT Championship. Powerhouse Hobbs taking on Wardlow. And I was just like, look, Powerhouse Hobbs is getting pushed right now. I didn't think he was going to get the match just yet. I figured they'd probably get some more wins under his belt. But no, he's like, no, he just won the Face Revolution ladder match last week on Dynamite. So it's like, well, now, what's going to happen now with him and Wardlow? So they come out there in their street clothes and they ball. I mean, like, Hobbs wrestling in jeans and Timbs. You know what I'm saying? He got the butters on. It's in there. And he goes and takes Wardlow, hits him on the steel steps. He takes out a table. He sets the table up, and then Wardlow comes out, and then he beats him down some more. And then Wardlow goes to the top. The table's on the outside. He goes from the top rope to the outside. There's a swanton bomb through Hobbs through the table. He goes for the pin, but Hobbs kicks out. After they get up, Wardlow hits like a deadlift power bomb on Hobbs right on the ramp. And it looks like, I don't know because when he picked him up, it's kind of like, remember how when Kevin Nash used to pick him up, pick people up for the jackknife, it's like, let me just see your head come up and I'm going to drop you. That's what it kind of felt like. Like he picked him up. Hobbs was just getting up. He didn't get him fully rotated. He just got him up just like that and then dropped it right down the ramp. You just see all his body just kind of like compact together. And I said, God, it got to fucking suck to take that kind of thing. Hobbs just account for the ref, and I was saying like, wait a minute, there's counts in this match? And I'm just sitting like, so is it kind of like a false count anyway / last man standing type match? Because I didn't understand what the referee was counting for if they was going to do the calls. But I was like, but if that was a rule that I just missed in false count anywhere matches, let me know, because I really did not know about it. They get up on the ramp, and it looks like Wardlow's going to go for a powerbomb sympathy right there through the table towards where the announcers are at. But then somebody comes out to help Will Hobbs. Can you guess who it is? QT Marshall. Of all the people, QT Marshall is the one comes out there to go and attack Wardlow. And then they both pick up Wardlow, Hobbs, and QT Marshall, powerbomb off the stage into like this little compacted area. And he can't answer the 10 count, and Will Hobbs wins the championship. I'm happy Will Hobbs gets to win the TNT championship. It's his first singles championship. I am great with that. But the finish, I would just rather Hobbs do it himself. I guess they want to make it do it dirty so Wardlow won't lose the remainder of the little bit of he got left that Tony Khan has just sucked away from him. So, but why QT Marshall? Like, I don't care about QT Marshall. Nobody cares about QT Marshall. But having Hobbs win is pretty good. So overall, it was a decent episode of Dynamite, better than I felt as though last week was, and good episode of NXT. So I think both shows get a thumbs up from me this week. But you guys can post down in the comments down below how you guys feel about both shows. Hit the like button if you guys enjoyed my review. Hit the subscribe button for more reviews like this, wrestling content, 2K content, pop culture content right here on NC Studios. So once again, it's NC the place to be. Chill Mr. A&D, and the Nerd Coalition is out.